Hey there, everybody. This is Beyond the Beach, career conversations with graduates of Cal State Long Beach. I'm your host, Kenji Klein, Associate Professor of Management at the College of Business at California State University, Long Beach, where I teach business strategy, general management, and organization theory. For those of you joining for the first time, in this show, I interview former students and recent graduates about life after Long Beach. Our conversations cover topics like how my guests chose a career path, how they landed their first job, and what it's been like to navigate the challenges and opportunities of their early careers. My hope is that you will find their experiences useful and inspiring in helping you chart your path beyond the beach. My guest today is Wade Carlson. Wade was a student in my business strategy class back in 2018, and now he works as an SEO specialist, and it's really great to have you here.
Hey, Kenji, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's dive right in. I'm wondering if you could just briefly introduce yourself to the audience, tell them who you are, when you graduated, what you studied, why you chose the field that you studied, and what you're doing now.
Oh, glad to. My name is Wade Carlson. I graduated Cal State Long Beach in 2018 with a bachelor's degree in international business. And right now I'm doing SEO, search engine optimization. I've been doing that for the past 5 years.
Okay, and so it's interesting. I didn't remember that you did international business. So what was it that drew you to international? And then also, are you doing anything international now?
I was thinking you were going to ask me.
Yeah,
I would
of course.
expect you to ask. Thank you. So I don't know why I chose it. I knew it was like a little bit more challenging, required a little bit more courses, and I wanted to study abroad. I needed a good excuse to study abroad. So that was part of it, and definitely like travel. So I was hoping to maybe at one point get into some sort of international work. But I'm not really doing anything to do with international business right now. But having the international business degree, it had all the other important fundamentals below it to get there. So It was definitely a good degree to have, and it might apply to later on. But right now, I'm not really doing anything to do with it.
So did you do a study abroad?
Yes. I studied.
Where'd you go?
Yeah. So it was a short-term study abroad,
Okay.
and we went to Shenzhen.
Okay.
China.
So you got to see all the crazy factory, super build-up, massive stuff over there.
Yes.
That's
So
cool.
we spent it was like about 2.5 weeks, and we spent the first week in Shenzhen, and we studied at a university, and then did a lot of business tours. Just business, different things from like garden hose supply companies to incubators for startups.
Oh, cool.
So that was kind of half part of the time was in the classroom, and the other part of the time was kind of going out and like exploring and seeing what it's like there. So the other half of the trip we were in Beijing, and then kind of did the same thing. We stayed at the university or hotel right outside the university. We went to class, met up with the students. And then the same thing. We went and we saw some really cool, local businesses and different companies from startups to like larger enterprises, like for tours. And Yep.
In 2017, 2018, I imagine China was just hopping at that point.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? That was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
It must have been nuts.
Yeah, I know, and I'm so glad I got to go when I did.
Yeah, I bet.
Yep.
So then you graduated, and then what did you do right after you finished?
So-
what was that like? How'd you find your first job? What were your goals? How'd that play out?
Well, first I'm going to back up a second because my career path wasn't really typical to everyone else because I was in the U.S. Coast Guard. So I went to school. I was in for 15 years. So this is like I wanted to start a second career.
Right.
All right. So I went to Golden West College, transferred to Cal State Long Beach, studied international business, and then from there I got an internship with a small family-owned logistics company, Global Logistics.
Okay.
So my degree was international business, so that's kind of what I was looking for in global logistics. Right. I thought it was the way to go.
Did you get that through the college?
Yes, I did. Yes, I got it through.
Was it the
Brotman Hall? It was the student something. Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't through the Student Center for Professional Development in the College of Business, like on our building.
No, I don't think so. But it was through the university though, that I did.
Okay.
I did get the internship.
I'm just trying to put a plug in for SCPD because
awesome. Okay, well,
they do really great work there too. So I'm just like, hey, if you're listening and you're looking for an internship, you guys should check them out. They're really good. All right. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So I went from I got this internship my senior year, and they said, hey, if you do a good job, then we'll put you on full time. So first of all, what the job was. Okay, that's important.
Yeah.
So I got hired on as this like a marketing assistant intern, basically. And one of the cool things about working for such a small family-owned company is like they really like to, because there's not a lot of people there, so it doesn't really take long or that loud of a voice to be heard.
Right.
Because you're right there. I can really go up to the CEO. Maybe my idea better be good. You know what I mean? But you get to see results quicker of what you do. So let's just get that out of the way.
Because like I'm here at Cal State Long Beach. We are a huge monster, right? The CSU is like the biggest, public university in the U.S.
Yeah.
So I have no influence on what goes on in the chancellor's office, right?
No,
so it's
exactly.
totally different.
So you just see how it is.
Yep.
So with a smaller organization, definitely has its definitely the pros and stuff. But so specifically, I was hired for that company to basically set up their CRM and their email automation. They just started to kind of gradually get into like the digital marketing, right? So they were doing traditional stuff, and they're like, no, we need to go all the way. So they only had 2 salespeople, 1 inbound, 1 outbound, right? So my job was basically to set up the databases, do database hygiene, clean it up, and make sure and set up lead scoring and to create email campaigns and all things like clean up lists and that sort of thing. So we'd acquire lists, we get lists to send out emails, nurturing campaigns, brand awareness campaigns, that sort of thing. So,
so they're a logistics company, right? So this is B2C, right? So they're advertising this is B2B. So
Yes,
they're advertising
B2B.
to businesses that need to have their logistics taken care of.
Yeah, so basically helping people with their import freight mostly, but they did exports and stuff too. But their most of their business was like ocean imports from China specifically.
All right.
Yep, and they worked with different companies too. So basically, like, a lot of companies that were on the Shark Tank used this company as their freight forward. Yeah, because you get a lot of people that just don't know what they're doing for importing, and it's very things get very convoluted and it's difficult to understand. So let's start calling around. So they did land quite a bit of clients that were startups and so forth. But yeah, it was an interesting niche. Like the logistics industry, it's not like the sexiest industry. You know what I mean? So it can be a little challenging to do marketing for. Okay, but what kept me on my toes when I was at that company was we were in the middle of the trade war with China. Okay.
Oh, right.
So here's where things get a little interesting. So it's like, okay, we're not the companies. First of all, it's not a customs. They're not customs brokers, but they have customs brokers that are partners that work with them. Okay. So when someone ships over from China, imports their goods, there's a tariff code, which is a tariff is tax on imports.
Yep.
And you would be part of a certain class. So, like for instance, it might be more expensive to ship slippers than sneakers or something. It might be a bad example, but what you call it and what you classify the import in is really matters, right? So what we try to do is try to save other companies money by changing their tariff codes and something known as tariff engineering. So so it's like, when do you call it a work truck? When do you call it a van? When do you call it a sculpture? When do you call it lead?
Right.
You know what I mean?
So in other words, it's like, okay, so the U.S. government has said, hey, these things, we're going to charge you a ton of money to bring them into the U.S. And so basically they're looking at this thing, and it might actually be that thing, but it could also be something else depending on how you look at it. So you would use the thing that's has the lower tariff.
Yes, and you have to and you have to be careful, that kind of stuff. And everything we did was very white hat, totally legit. You know what I mean? Because people that were just honestly misclassifying their own goods, and they were paying up the yin yang for the imports. So we helped people save a ton of money. So that was definitely definitely some of the wins that we got was starting email campaigns. Hey, just passed a new law. There's new tariffs imposed on imports from China and so forth. So
let me ask you a question. So the work that you were doing, though, right? The email campaigns and the marketing stuff. Was that stuff that you were doing in your international business program here, or was it just you had these skills with computer-related stuff separate that you just brought to the table?
Right. So some skills I already had, they wanted basic, kind of Excel. Google Sheets and stuff like that. But really, it was like they really just wanted someone that they can build, someone they can build up and develop. So they trained me. When I was there, I really knew nothing. I knew how to. I was a pretty good writer. Yeah. So I gave them a writing sample. Like, here's a paper I wrote, for school, and they really liked it. And they said, okay, because we'll have you write some blogs too. So I wrote blogs, emails, all sorts of things to
So you gave them a paper from school.
Yes, I did. I did. Right. Yeah, I forgot. It was about. I forgot what it was. I think it was about. It's about cell phones and just how just
Okay.
everyone's just stuck on their cell phone. For some reason, we had to write about it, but the professor really liked the paper, and so I used that as an example, and they liked
Because
that.
I'm just like, I usually don't think of school assignments as being part of something you would include in your job application. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's cool that it turned out that they wanted one and you had one to show.
Exactly.
Okay. Right on.
Yeah. So I acquired a lot of good skills early, learning about CRM databases.
Right.
And lead scoring, which is
Right.
very important. So, because the idea with digital marketing, you want to capture leads and warm leads, and you want to funnel them down to sales, right? And how do you do that? You're not going to call like 200 people a day. It just doesn't. Well, I mean, some people are designed to do that, but for a small company like we didn't have someone that could sit on the phone all day. That's why they had me. So I'd go and we'd send out put them in a 6-month email program.
Okay.
And then sometimes it paid off like a year later. They'd respond back to the email. Hey, I'm ready to do freight forwarding. I'm ready to use you guys. So.
Huh, interesting. And so how long did that go on for? How long did you do that for?
So I was there for just under 2 years.
Okay.
And then from there, because I did forget to mention, but I'll throw that out there. But I did do kind of a couple little podcast episodes for the company, kind of towards the end. Right. Then I saw a posting on, I think it was on LinkedIn, for a junior podcast producer / marketing associate for a residential real estate, totally different industry. But you can take digital marketing anywhere.
Right.
That's the cool thing.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't get
totally transferable.
Here's the takeaway. Don't get pigeonholed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Expand your knowledge. So I took my skill sets of learning about email automation, lead scoring, and blog writing. I started to learn about SEO there too, and then learning about WordPress and how to work on the company's website.
Create a website.
So because WordPress is the gold standard. So if you can learn WordPress, fantastic.
Because everybody basically uses it for their
It's
website.
the gold standard.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So it's a good skill to have. So I kind of brought that over to this other company, and I booked podcast guests, and I created a lot of...
Stop. Mm-hmm. So why'd you leave?
Oh, why did I leave?
Yeah.
I left. Okay. Yeah, let's get into that. So I would just say there's certain things I didn't appreciate about my situation. Okay. Number one was pay. And I knew I had a little bit more earning power.
Right.
Okay, so don't ever underestimate yourself.
Right.
Okay, know what you're worth.
So how did you know? How did you know that you could be making more?
Because I asked around, and everyone was making more than me.
Yeah, so talk to people for sure. Yeah, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Always keep an eye
on
on
that. So
networking,
talking to people, looking at listings, this job's offering this job's offering that, So I knew, and also too is I would say, working for the small mom and pop company, they came from the old school. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it was a lot of if you're not in your chair and you're not doing this, then they're literally walking around HR. It was making sure you're at your desk, making sure this, get a copy. How long are you going to be with your coffee? So it got to be it really drove me down the ground. So if you don't like that kind of stuff, see, here's the thing too is don't get upset at the things that you can't change.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're not going to, just get out there and you get this company and you're not going to, make change in this company to run differently necessarily. You know what I mean? Especially a smaller company. They've been doing it for 40 years, right? The same way. Yep. And that's just, they just want everyone just in their seat, Yeah. So pros and cons, the pro was how your ideas get pushed forward. And the con is kind of very traditional. It's get your chair and a lot of, I guess, micromanagement, I guess you could say. But I did have an excellent marketing director that taught me everything I know, and he got me on the right path.
Okay.
So absolutely no regrets whatsoever with that job. So I just...
But I think that's also really important. I think it's really important for people to understand, when you are in a job, right, there are so many opportunities to learn stuff. And that stuff that you're going to learn in that job is going to be the thing that allows you to take the next step, go to the next place, go to the next level or whatever.
I like to use a little analogy for that, okay? Yeah. It's kind of like in the movie Independence Day, all right? So the mothership's going to planet and harvesting all the resources. Well, you be that mothership, and you go to company and harvest all the information you can and all the good context you can, okay? And when it's time for you to leave. Yeah. You're in it for you. Because I think at the end of the day, I mean, people are all nice and cheery, welcome to the team and this and that, but really they're worried about the business. Right. So that means that you have to worry about you and protect yourself. So don't fall for anything.
Right. Okay.
So that's pretty much why I left. I saw better opportunity.
Okay.
But I definitely it was a good gig I learned. It was a good way to start out. So I would say definitely get an internship while you're at Cal State Long Beach. 100%, if not 2. internships.
Yeah.
If you can.
If you can get them. And then I'm sorry, I think you said this, but I want to make sure I understood.
Mm-hmm.
So when you decided to move to a different thing, it was through LinkedIn or?
I found the other posting through LinkedIn, and okay. It was cool because the recruiter that was posting the job, it was a smaller company too, yep. but larger than the last one. But I could reach out to her directly, so I reached out and I posted her an episode of the podcast I recorded.
Okay.
So I used what I did at the last
yep.
company and applied it, kind of building like a portfolio.
Yep, for sure.
You know what I mean? So I posted a link and I posted a couple blogs, and they loved it, and they called me in for. I think that one I just had probably 2 really quick interviews, and they kind of made up their mind. So this company was it's a real estate investing company that was purchased, newly acquired from a property management company. And at the time of acquisition, they got acquired because they were about ready to close the doors.
Okay.
But then they got acquired last minute. They had to fire 100 people.
Wow.
And then kind of go to like one marketing person, which to me I was the only real marketing person. There was like a head of sales, a marketing person, and the president. And I worked directly for the president, which was strange.
Yeah.
Because I sat right next to him. They wanted open seating, so they have all the open seating with the stand-up desk, really cool, huge monitor, a lot of good resources to use. I was on like the 10th floor or something, out looking the window. It was like living the dream, I'm like, what a cool job, But I had to do the president's podcast, and so he was sitting next to me all day, and then on the weekend I had to edit the podcast. And then I saw him all weekend. Okay. So I saw him all week, and then I saw him all weekend, So I got pretty burnt out of doing that. But also while I was there, I did, that's where I started applying more SEO, search engine optimization, and to really start learning about optimizing certain pages and kind of how it works, and writing more blogs and so forth, and really creating a lot of content, like a lot of a podcast, then write a blog that's kind of based off of the podcast series, you know what I mean, and then chop that up into micro content, and then distribute it out of social media. Okay. That way, so it was pretty cool job.
And then how long were you there for?
I was there very, very, very briefly, and then it was COVID. So this is already going up to 2020, right? So I was there through the first part of 2020. COVID hit, and then here's the thing: is with some companies, especially commercial real estate, when there's pandemics and things and uncertainty, commercial real estate tends to do very well. There's a lot of movement, a lot of transaction. Right. So a commercial real estate company that wanted someone with marketing and real estate experience, which I had, got a hold of me. Yeah. And during the pandemic, thank goodness, it was a contract job. Actually, it was just going to be a 6-month contract, okay? So applied for that, got the job as email marketing specialist. And that's where and this is all working from home. We're at the start of the pandemic, and it's like, okay, your first day of work, go to the office, pick up all your stuff. Okay. So it's like, and then call me when you get there. Okay. So, because everyone's at home, right? But there was one IT guy absolutely freaking out, inside of the building, right? And he's got his mask on and gloves and everything else, right? I go because this stuff just happened. Yeah, like lockdown just happened. And so I go and kind of like knock on the door, and I'm looking through the windows and stuff, and then all of a sudden he's like, take a step back, right? He opens up the door and kind of like throws this like 2 monitors at me and a laptop, right? Okay. And then some power cables. So I go home and I set up all my stuff and did all my training. Over, it's very typical now. A lot of stuff is remote now. But then it was just like, well, how are we going to do training remote? But you make it work. You do screen share and stuff like that, and it's great. Mm-hmm.
That's cool. And then you were there, so how many more things have you done between then and now? Okay, so
I've done a few. I was actually there for 2 years.
So this is one lesson though, right? It's like if you're a student now and you're thinking about it, it's like, don't assume that you're just going to go somewhere and that's where you're going to end up, right?
Don't
it's
settle.
Like there's all these iterations of all these things you can go. Because I have either students who are currently students, or people that graduated not that long ago, and they're kind of bummed out about the job they're in, and they feel like, oh, it's the end of the world. Like my whole life is screwed because I'm in this job I don't like, right?
Right.
And I think it's like it's really useful to recognize, like, no, there's some bouncing around. There's mobility. There's freedom. You have choices, and so don't get too discouraged either now while you're trying to figure out, like, oh, I'm not finding the perfect thing right now, and get bummed out about that, or oh, I landed in this job I don't like, and now the rest of my life is ruined. It's not like that.
It's not the military. I appreciate my freedom.
Oh, right.
If you don't like it in the military, if you don't like your job, you don't like your boss, guess what? Yeah. You better learn to love that person, because that's your boss and that's your job, and you can't leave. Well, you could, but there'd be terrible consequences. you know.
Yeah, more dramatic.
So definitely I exercised my rights.
Okay.
just to be brutal honest. So I was with when I was with this company, they quickly got acquired.
Okay.
Because it's the way it is. Eat or be eaten. Everyone's
Right.
acquiring everyone.
Right.
You know what I mean? It happens quick, right?
Yep.
So we got acquired by a monster commercial real estate company, kind of
Okay.
like the leading commercial real estate company. And definitely noticed a lot. Well, by then, it was time to return back to office.
Right.
Right? So it's been like a year or whatever, year and a half. Time to return back to office, got acquired. And just, the culture definitely changed, you know, with the acquisition. You know, you could definitely tell it was like a lot more... you know, policy and strict and everything. Benefits and pay got better,
right.
which is good, but some of the other things kind of, so it's kind of a trade-off,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
But again, I was a contract and they brought me on full-time at that point,
Okay.
you know? And then, let's see. Yeah,
So can I ask you a question? So has all your advancement been basically shifting from one company to another, or did you actually do any vertical moves up within any given company?
So I would say... Not really. I mean, going from intern to like full time and
right.
contract to
right.
you know to full time, but I was kind of like, I really loved marketing. I just didn't know like what like 'cause there's so much to it. There's there's email, CRM, SEO, paid search. There's you know events. There's like a million
right.
things you can do. So, but I really started to like SEO, and then while I was at this commercial real estate company on my off time, I was taking courses through Coursera.
Okay.
And this SEO specialization, it was like a 5-module. It took like a year and a half to do it all.
Okay.
So just chipping away, you know, like an hour a day or something like
right.
that, like about a year or so. I got a SEO specialization from UC Davis through Coursera. It was an excellent course. But I really started to like it, and so when I'm doing the emails for this company, HTML emails. You know, if I was like kind of light on emails for that week or whatever, I would just say, hey, you know, I know how to do SEO too, and I would jump in and do SEO. So that's kind of what you want to do. Is like, don't be like, I'm done, you know, for the day or whatever. Like, jump in and do other stuff. So I started doing that, and they really liked my work in SEO. And then I started to be like, I think I like doing SEO better than emails.
So you looked at a need that was in the company.
Yes.
And you were like, hey, I can add some value here. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go and offer. Even though you're not getting paid for it, right? This is you taking on additional work.
Be careful of that, by the way.
Yeah, sure.
They can really,
Right. So it's a two-edged sword. It's like you could take on extra work, it can get noticed, and that can get you promoted or better pay, or you get some skills that you can use for the next job, or it could be like suddenly everybody's dumping work on you and you're totally overloaded.
Exactly. So definitely I saw kind of like a void there. I knew there was an opportunity to like kind of apply some things that I know and try to, you know, do a good job for them. So. Now with them, there was, okay, this is where things get interesting. So I had 3 opportunities to like promote up, or if you want to call it that, okay? First of all, let me tell you this. When it's your time, okay? Like, you know, for it. When you're ready, and they'll notice, and they'll tap you when it's time, okay? So... Not that I didn't like my job, but I just needed more stimulation because I was doing these emails, cranking out these emails.
Right.
Like literally, while I was there, I did 3,000.
Okay.
3,000 emails.
Yeah.
And that means 3,000 reports in this. It was like I was like an email factory.
Yeah.
You know, basically. So, anyways, I knew I wanted to do other things, and there was a digital marketing manager in the same team. That person decided to leave. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can totally do this job. I mean, it doesn't really seem, you know, that difficult and this and that. Didn't get it, right?
Okay.
Then I got a new boss, and then they left, and then another boss, and they left. So that's like 2 new bosses. Right. Then I said the third time, why don't you let me apply for it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because now we've been through 2 bosses. I didn't get it.
Okay.
At this point, then my director's kind of looking at me like, you want to leave my team, or you want to do, like, you know what I mean?
Because you had asked
because I asked about promotions
and
so forth.
Got
and
it.
also, let me tell you, too, is like, people are territorial, man.
Yeah.
I don't trust, like, I almost like, it doesn't matter how nice they are. I think, like, people just try to ask you questions and get stuff from you. Right. And just they can use it against you like later. You know, there was like a lot of that in my industry in the office. It was like a lot of that. So I kind of kept quiet and stuff. But I think to me, it's like I love it when people are ambitious and want to try things. You know, but it was almost like it was kind of like I felt like I was being like almost like shamed for it like trying, and it kind of made. And then after I didn't get the job, she said, "Now you have to put your tail between your legs."
Oh, really? She said that to you?
She said that to me. Very interesting. And now I'm starting to get like a little bit like, okay, now I went from kind of looking around to like trying to look for an exit strategy.
Right. I mean, so it's really interesting, right? Because I think the different companies are going to have different cultures around these kind of things. Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting question, like what percentage of the companies are like this, where it gets political really quickly, and if you make one wrong move, then suddenly the sharks are circling. And how many of them are more like, this is what you do, right? You make an attempt to do something better, to do something more, and if it doesn't work out, then it's like, okay, so you learn something next time around, shift it up a little bit, see if you can make it better. And I think my understanding, right, from the strategy literature is like the companies that enable a culture where people are rewarded for those kind of risks really do a lot better. Right.
Yeah.
And they have to figure out how to tamp down the politics because it's just there's something inherent, I think, in people to play that game. Mm-hmm. But if you can manage to keep that under control, those companies tend to do better.
Exactly. Just one of those things is I worked for an interesting team. The director definitely would just say, let's just say she was very traditional.
Right.
You know what I mean? In the meantime, she's being passed over for vice president.
Yeah.
Like for 3 years. Like she's like, oh, I want to get my vice president, and she got passed over year after year or whatever. So she's frustrated about her own stuff. I'm looking at like moving up and maybe possibly getting on her team. So I saw another a job posting within my company, and I knew the hiring manager. He was like set like kind of like 2 offices down or whatever. Right. So I said, I think I could do this job, and it was more about CRM and Salesforce Pardot specialist, basically dealing with the emails and the databases and setting up setting up strategic marketing campaigns with it. And this is stuff I've done before, and I'm very familiar. Like 2 years experience with Pardot. He said, well, I really appreciate you want to apply, but you need to be a certified Pardot specialist. So I went and I studied for 2 weeks, and I came back to him and I paid the $200 myself. Right. And I'm like, I'm a certified Pardot specialist. What's up?
Okay.
Nothing.
Really?
Nothing. Just like, I'll let you know. And I'm like, finally, I'm just like, I don't know what it is, but like, and then I know, this person director definitely very angry with me now.
Right.
Like, because obviously she was made aware that I'm trying to, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So anyways, take it with a grain of salt. But good experiences there. I learned how to learned a lot more about HTML when I was there. Okay. And then I became a certified Pardot specialist, and then I got my SEO specialization while I was there. Okay. Now it's time to start thinking about SEO. So I got a job with Boost Mobile as their lead in-house SEO, and Dish Networking, like Dish, the old school. Not very relevant anymore. The thing in the sky that beeps
that you put on top. The thing you put on top of your roof.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now they go on like RVs and campers and stuff and fishing boats or something. But anyways, Dish thought it was a good idea to purchase a retail or get into the retail wireless. Okay. So they purchased. There was a Republic Wireless, Boost Mobile, and then Gen Mobile, and then a couple other Boost Infinite or something. So anyways, I was kind of running SEO for like all companies, and I did that for a year, and then most recently now I got a contract with a marketing agency that markets strictly to law firms. Okay. And so I'm doing SEO for multiple clients right now. So that's kind of been my journey. It bounced around maybe like a little bit more. Right. But at the end of the day, I'm really glad. Every single move I made, I'm glad I made it.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. And so now you're doing this thing for law firms. So that's a new industry. Now you have to learn the dynamics in that industry, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, see, the good thing is SEO, like the principles always be the same, but you got kind of know who we're the vendor. For clients, right? I'm not client facing, so I'm doing strictly behind the stuff. Right. There's account executives that deal with the sales and the working with the client, the law firm, and then they put in a work order for me to to start working on optimization strategies, content strategies, and so forth.
Okay, that's cool. So that's the trajectory.
That was my trajectory.
Yeah, so an interesting trajectory. It goes all over the place, and that's I think one of the things that happens for a lot of people. So I'm curious. Let's say that you could go back in time to 2018 as, Wade now, to Wade back then. Is there anything that you would want to tell Wade back then that might be useful for him?
Excuse me. I would say, here's the thing. there's ambition and there's patience. Okay, if you can imagine like a Venn diagram or something, there's a sweet spot in between when they touch. You know what I mean? That's the spot you want to aim for. So what that means is this: be ambitious, but be patient. Right. Don't be too ambitious because you'll scare everyone off. Right. Because you don't know. I mean, there might be some that like, oh, I'm gung ho. I want to do what I work. You know, you can work. You work 15 hours a day, and you can get there. Absolutely. Right. You know, especially in sales. You know, if you want, like, that's numbers driven, and if you can do it, they're like, oh, cool, you can do it. You're driving in the numbers, but it's a little bit different. Yeah. You know, for marketing. But I would say, don't be too patient. You know, don't be patient like 3 times applying for a job within your company and you don't get all 3. That's it. You know what I mean? So I think finding that balance of patience and ambition. You know?
Yeah, that's interesting. It is interesting to think of it in terms of that tension between the two. Mm-hmm. If you're too impatient, then, you know, if you're really ambitious, you can be too impatient, and that can hurt you.
Exactly. Yeah. Both can hurt you. You know, extremes. Let's kind of try to find, like, you know, balance to show that you're eager, show that you want to, you know. But again, when it's your time, I think you just sometimes it's best to kind of like wait for them to kind of tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, because you'll know they'll hint to you. They'll be like, you know, I can see you. They'll say something like this, like, you know, I can see you do it. Like my current job now, my director came to me and said, well, you know, I can see you're doing this, and this is kind of the right way to go, because if you want to get here, this is kind of like what you have to do it. Right. And gave me specific examples and gave me a roadmap. No other boss gave me that. So he's already telling me how to do it and saying, like, I think you can do it because you know your stuff. You know what I mean? So I think definitely a lot more potential. You know.
Right. So and that's a signal that says, hey, they value me here, right? Or at least my boss values me here because he's actually thinking about, you know, what are the next steps for me. Right. Where can I go? What can I do next? He understands that most people want to, you know, they have some ambition. They want to, you know, go up, or they want to make more, and they want to do more things. So that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess another question I have, right, because I'm in the education business, right? I'm, you know, teach at the College of Business, and I'm curious, like, what did you learn, right, when you were a student that actually ended up being useful for you? Like, how much of it was actually useful? What was useful? Was there any? Or is it just like, I'm going through this certification process to get a stamp and that's all I need?
Man,
and be honest. Be really honest.
I would say like 50% of material, I think.
That's not bad.
Like, okay, it's
my
not.
working hypothesis was lower, honestly. But
it depends on the instructor, too, because some just like, I really felt like maybe some seemed to care more than others. Right. You know what I mean? I liked. Okay, so for you, I was actually thinking before you hit me up about this. I was thinking about you because like I remember this. I remember this is what you said in your in the management strategy, right? Yep. You said like the most important thing that you didn't know is what market capitalization is. Oh. Yeah, you know what I mean. That's like and no one knew what it is, but that's like it's like with you know.
Well, I think what I said. I think what I said is, once you're in the business world, if you've got a business degree and somebody asks you and you don't know what it means, you're going to look like an idiot.
Yeah, so absolutely.
You should learn it.
Yeah,
right?
And you should know the difference between like sales and profit too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, revenue versus
revenue.
Profit
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be another one. But
so there were nuts and bolts kind of things that were just like, this is stuff that's nuts and bolts in businesses, and you have to understand what those concepts are because you need to be literate.
Absolutely, yeah. The terminology and so forth. You know, when we're talking about like P&L, and different. I'm trying to think of some of the more practical classes I had. So, like for instance, for international business, I had like things like international finance and international accounting, and that for me. Probably those classes, but the management.
But that's because of where you ended up.
Exactly.
For someone else who ends up in a different place, that might actually be
more beneficial to them. But I think actually my international marketing class definitely learned a lot. But in just the marketing 300 class, I think like learning about the 4 Ps and so forth, and what it means to position something. Yeah. And
I mean, this is a struggle that I kind of wrestle with, right? Because I'm always asking myself, it's like, are we giving students what they actually need to do what they need to do for themselves in the workplace? And I think some of it we do, but then some of it I feel like, I don't know. Maybe it made sense 20 years ago. Why are we still teaching it this way? Right. Right. And that's something I struggle with. And so I'm always curious, you know, for students and former students who've been out, like, you know, their sense of what they're getting or what they got.
Right. I think, more of a focus. I mean, the course Marketing 300 class, great, the foundations, the principles and everything, but really more I wish I would have learned what SEO was when I was in school. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wish I would have I wish I would have learned more about actually just spreadsheets and so forth. And I would say learn. I mean,
so I hear from so many former students say, "Man, I wish I had spent more time learning Excel." Mm-hmm. It's
because
like
they'll ask you to do it because they don't want to do it. So they get an intern or they get a new, an FNG, we'll say.
Yeah.
They're gonna like, okay, so I need to clean up that list, and I'm not talking about like a list of like 10. I'm talking about records like 30,000 records in a spreadsheet and keeping everything organized.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the most glamorous stuff in the world, obviously. But it's one of those things like if you're good at doing this, if you know how to navigate through Excel and do stuff with it, it's like companies will be like, yes, we'll take you. You can do this because a lot of people are actually using it. Not everybody, but that is one thing that I've heard over and over and over again. That I'm always like,
learn how to index match. It's a pretty intermediate formula, difficult. I think it's difficult to do, but you get it down. But that's a very valuable thing. I think a lot of companies like it when you know how to do stuff. So learning like some intermediate formulas for sure.
So let me ask you stuff that's not related to the professional stuff, right? But really more about like. How do you and what have you done to sort of balance that, the requirements to be successful professionally with everything you need to like be healthy psychologically, physically, personally, right? Because that balance, I think, can be tricky. And so I'm just curious how that's worked out for you and what you've done.
So, oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting. I think like keeping like a regular, a fitness schedule, like going to the gym at like the same time of the day or going for a walk every day. Like honestly, like every morning I go for a really long walk, like 3.5 miles, which once being, it might up being an hour, in a walk, but I'm outside, you know what I mean? Walking along the 405 in Irvine, because my place is pretty close to the freeway. Okay. So yeah, I see that, and I see the airplanes land and stuff. But yeah, I go for a walk, and then I go and listen to music. I listen to podcasts to kind of enrich me and so forth. And definitely, I think like sleep. Here's the thing. I mean, I want to try to lecture because I'm not like a pro on this stuff, but like get good sleep, man. And how do you get good sleep?
If I could get a job as a professional sleeper, I would.
Oh, I know, right? Well, here's the thing: is like you got to get your circadian rhythm right, and then so like eat your meals at the same time, and then start your own turn down service at the same time. And then so if you just start doing that, you get in the habit, and if you lay down in bed and lay down at 9:30 every night, right? Put your phone down, no screen time, because it's harder to get to sleep, and your sleep is less. So. That one I could pretty much be safe. It's safe to say that, I think. You know what I mean? That most people...
But dialing in your sleep is something that's helpful.
Yep, absolutely.
It's hard, though. It's hard. It's just like... I mean, I'm focused on... I'm on a mission to, like, dial my sleep in. But I've been on that same mission for, like, 5 years. And it's really difficult, right? Because there's just, like... There's just times where it's just, like... I finally hit my second wind. For whatever. If I'm working on something. It's like, do I really want to turn it off now when I know I'm going to be productive and then I stay up late? But
that's anxiety.
Yeah, maybe.
That sounds like anxiety. Yeah.
And it could trip me up for for later on down the line. Yeah. But that's an interesting one.
So sleep healthy relationships too, like your friends and stuff. Like I got my friends from back when I was in the Coast Guard and some colleagues from school even, and so like once a week I at least try to call someone.
Yeah, that was another question I had because I've had a lot of students tell me it's like. It's not as easy to make friends as it was when they were in college.
That is so true. Yeah. Well, everyone's busy now, and I have a 2-year-old now.
Okay.
So so definitely it's like most of my times.
No wonder you're focused on sleep.
Exactly, because you have to, So now he's in a good routine now, and so it's pretty easy. But definitely keeps you on your toes. But take time for your exercise, sleep, your personal stuff, like your time. Read a book or something. You know.
So did you, are you like consciously, actively like maintaining connections with the people, from before, from Coast Guard or from when you were in school and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So but just on social media, we have a pretty good network of friends hit each other up once in a while, tag them in a stupid throwback photo. That's always fun.
Okay.
Throwback Thursday or whatever and do all that. So. Mm-hmm.
And then, let's see, I guess I'm wondering if you have like a really strong sense for what success means for you. Like, how would you define it? What is it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Let me tell you. Can I tell you what it isn't? First of all,
sure.
It's not money.
Okay.
Definitely not money, because I've been in because these different jobs. I'm not saying they all necessarily paid increasingly more every time I got a new job.
Right.
Now that was true at the beginning or something, but sometimes you got to kind of scale it back a little bit, and then you find out where you're happy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you're happy doing it, and then the money doesn't really, if you can pay the bills and stuff, and then right now it's hard on everyone. These are really tragic times right now for inflation is just crazy. It's just a terrible, terrible, terrible time economically. But I think at the end of the day, it's not going to be money. It's like if you can think if you can wake up with a smile on your face, man, you're going to work, you're good. If you can not have to drag yourself in. If you start dragging yourself in, or sit there and wake up and you look at the ceiling, you get your covers halfway pulled up, and you're like, I just don't want to do this. Then you need to think about something else,
right? Because
you should be get up and literally clap your hands and be like, you know what, today is going to be a freaking awesome day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then go to work and then you crush it.
Right.
Right. So that's where you want to be. But yeah, success is just being happy at what you do.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I think in order to succeed, then you have to be self-aware, right? You have to pay attention to what's going on inside of you, and say, hey, wait, is this working out for me? Instead of just having all these external markers be what defines.
You have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I've made those T diagrams before, okay, pros and cons, why am I here? Why I like it here and why I don't like it here. And then if your list starts going the things that you don't like, then it might be time to jump ship. And I wouldn't discourage people either. Is during this time that I was at every single job, I acquired something new.
Right.
And finally, I'm at the point where I've been able on side as a side business, just able to go and do websites and SEO for people. For skincare companies, startup skincare companies, for lighting companies, other freight forwarding companies and stuff. So there's been, so definitely am kind of leaning towards, going off and maybe just doing, my own thing, one day. But definitely take those skills that you acquire at your jobs, and you know what, if you want to do something right, do it yourself. That's the way I look at it. Don't be and don't think about you need this plan. If you just do it, go out there. If you have an idea, I can make money doing this, on my own and using the skills that I have, and not work for a lot of people do want to do this stuff nowadays and do their own business.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that comes with its own set of challenges and stuff, too, I'm sure. But don't be afraid to do it. Yeah. Because if you can, I don't mean to sound cliche or whatever, it's Oprah, The Secret, but you have to manifest it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you have to see yourself in it and see yourself doing it. And if you can, and then if you can imagine it, then it probably is possible. Because if you can't, then it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then the other thing is you have to start doing it, right? I mean, you have to start taking those concrete steps to actually start. I say that, right? And one of the reasons I say that is I've been thinking about this podcast for 3 years, right?
Awesome.
I've been thinking about this for 3 years, and it's been spinning around my head for 3 years. And finally, I was just I was hanging out with a friend, and we were talking about success and failure. And his kind of thing is he's in an environment where he's surrounded by people that aren't as smart as him, but they all have degrees and stuff that he doesn't have, and so there's we're talking about success, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that came up is look, it's not how smart you are, it's not how good your ideas are, it's not this or that. It's it's just you got to execute, and it's if you're not going to execute, nothing happens, right? So at the end of the day, you've got to take the step and make that take some action.
Yes,
so we were having
small steps.
Yeah.
So small. What I kind of did is I kind of put my name, made a little business card or whatever, put my name on there, and meet someone, and I kind of notice, hey, your your website, use a little work there.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was my card. I'm Wade. Call me.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden one day, someone called me.
Yep.
And then
so,
I'm well. Mm-hmm.
And we got in the same thing where it was okay, I got to do something. And so what I did. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no.
I don't know. You probably know that I do that because you took my class. And I would do that in class.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but stop interrupting me.
But it was so then it was okay, got to do something. And I basically was I'm going to force myself to do this. And the way I forced myself to do this was I sent out 100 emails to students saying, hey, I'm doing a podcast, right? And then suddenly emails started coming back in. And I'm and honestly, my reaction was, crap. Now I have to do this because I've got all these students who've said, I'm willing to show up and talk on the podcast.
Right.
So I kind of just had to force myself. So sometimes that's what it is. It's I got to take action. You just have to put yourself where the pain of not taking action would be just too high, right? Because
Right.
the embarrassment of me having to email everyone back and saying, kidding, right, was just like, I wasn't willing to do that. So.
Right, right here. But I'm glad you you had to stay in it. Took a little bit, but you executed it.
Yeah, well, so
This
far,
is-
we're
this-
starting out.
Yeah, this is awesome.
So, anyway, I think that's it. That's all the questions I have for now. It's just been a really great chance to talk to you again and see what's going on in your life.
I'm not going to let you let me go without me putting in a plug first.
Oh, yeah,
I have
for
to do
sure,
this,
for
okay?
sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some fun stuff now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that wasn't fun.
You know what?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I forgot. My last
No
question is
worries.
like, what's next?
Yeah.
Right? What kind of side projects? What's next? What are you doing? My apologies.
Okay, so I've been playing music for like 20 years, like writing songs on guitar. And
Nice.
I just started to have these weird coincidences and just things and like these signs from wherever that
Uh-huh.
are telling me to do this.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing is I actually had a hand injury, actually slipped on a wet floor, it crushed my hand.
Okay.
And I was playing guitar and I had to kind of change up the way I played so I could play because my
Yeah.
hand was injured.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I came up with
absolutely.
this little like riff or whatever and I'm like, what am I going to sing about now? And I was just thinking about Irvine.
Uh-huh.
And
So you live in Irvine?
Irvine. And so a couple things about the city is like lots of Teslas. Everyone's got a Tesla.
I live in Irvine. By
Do
the
you have
way,
a Tesla?
No, I do not.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I still have the same car that I had when I first started teaching here 8
really?
years
Oh,
ago.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm such a cheapskate.
That's the way to that's I mean everyone else like needs like a new
right,
car
exactly.
every 2 years. But
I
it's more
need a new car
practical.
like I need a hole in the.
It's
another
more
one in
practical.
there.
Yeah, it's more practical to do what you're doing.
Right.
But lots of Teslas. Stoplights are absolutely just atrocious.
I when I moved here, I had a theory that somebody who worked in the office that timed the traffic lights had a brother who owned a gas station because it's like you get stopped at every traffic light because they want you to use as much gas as possible so they can sell a lot of gas.
Oh yeah, that's the way to go. Right, that's hilarious. I'm thinking about Irvine, and kind of like I'm at a red light, and I started to kind of come this like, ooh yeah, Irvine something, and I'm like, but it took like 6 months, and I wrote this like song, and I'm like, and then my girlfriend's like, it's getting stuck in my head, and I'm like, that's a good thing,
right?
Like if it's being, so I called up a recording studio. And guy on his phone, I told him it's a song about Irvine, and he did not hesitate. He's like, come right in and let's record this thing. So we recorded
Nice.
it took 3 months. We had a lot of people to work on the song because it's kind of like it was a special kind of feature thing. I want to do something kind of like for my first song, my debut thing. I want to do something kind of like, and I have to like with music, I'm thinking about marketing.
Yeah. Okay.
And like I'm thinking about the timing to release the song and doing the social media to promote it and everything. And thinking about like the different like TikToks and so forth that I can do to kind of promote this song, right?
Right.
So we have like 3 guitar players, like a slide guitar player,
Nice guitar head.
and I don't even want to call him a rap artist.
Okay.
So first of all, I tried to rap, just to myself, like I had this poem kind of thing going, like this bouncy thing, and I'm like, it's just not authentic for me to rap, right? So recording this song at Hear No Evil Studio in Orange, California. The producer Elliot was like, hey, I got this guy. His name is Cedric, right?
Okay.
Is his name, and he's a Long Beach rap artist.
Okay.
But he's so much more than that. He
Right.
does like everything. He does like piano, guitar, like drums. Very talented, multi-talented person. So I was really thrilled to get him in the studio. So I wrote down this rap verse about people are just like tied up and straight-laced and how like everyone's got a Model 3 and like UCI and these different things, and he tied it all together for me and just spat out this beautiful rap about and it is fire, let me tell you. And so the song is called Irvine Grit, and I should be launching it in October. And people are like, why Irvine Grit? I mean, Irvine's not very grit.
Right, it's not very gritty, right? It doesn't seem gritty.
Exactly, but the lyric is like it's the Irvine grit. They won't give us it, so they're not giving us the grit, and almost like so.
Oh yeah.
On the surface, I would say it's about maybe being on cannabis at a stoplight, right?
Okay.
At a stoplight, and the stoplight's like extra long, right? And you just want
Or
to.
it seems extra long.
But
sure,
really, it's about like you kind of want to like it's like the city kind of holds us down with these red lights, and you just want to kind of escape and be creative. And really,
Right.
the song is about kind of escaping and the fundamentals of this planet. planned city,
Right.
and doing something artful and creative.
Huh.
So that's
Cool.
really beneath the skin. That's really what the song is about. So again, the song's called Irvine Grit. My Instagram, so please, I don't have a release date yet, but it should be within the next few weeks. But please follow my Instagram. It's at Hypnic Jerk Music. So that's HYPNIQ_jerk. _music. So why did I call my band Hypnic Jerk?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, so it's one of those things like, have you ever had one before? It's in the middle of the night and like you feel like you're like kind of falling and then you kind of twitch.
Oh, yeah.
It's your body kind of like waking you up or something. It's a Hypnic Jerk. So
that's actually a technical thing. That's a thing.
Exactly. So someone already had the name Hypnic.
Yeah.
Somebody already had the name Hypnic Jerks. And I was like, well, I can't. So I spelt it with an IQ. So it's HYPNIQ.
Okay.
Right? So it's more like Hypnic Jerk, right? So then so my rapper is like, it's like hypnotic jerk. And I think about hypnotic like the old school like alcohol liquor or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not that. So anyways, I have another song too after this called The Lasso. So that'll be dropping sometime in October as well. I'm really excited. So hopefully you guys can get on my Instagram, give me a follow, and kind of follow my my music.
That's awesome. That's really great.
So that's my plug.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's great to hear. And again, that's part of that whole personal life work balance thing, right? You have to have time for these kind of things that really give you energy, that light you up, right? If you're not doing that in your life, then it's kind of like
I recorded the song, and my son would nap at like 12:30 to 2:30.
Yeah.
And then I'd be taking a lunch around that time. That's when I'd go and record the song, half of it at home, and then I recorded the other half at the studio.
That's really awesome. That's great. Well, I'm excited to hear it.
Excited.
So
I'll
when it comes
let you know
out,
when it comes out.
I want to hear it.
Awesome.
All right. So, Wade, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming in and being my first guest for the podcast.
It's an honor, Kenji. Thank you so much.
And it's just really great to talk to you and to touch base with you. And I just, one of the things I'm really excited about doing the podcast is this opportunity to talk to students, face to face.
See what we're up to.
Yeah, to see what you guys are up to.
Yeah, so, awesome. Well, it's been great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, cool.